Welcome to the Haven for Soul Care, the podcast where we explore the art of nurturing the mind, body, and spirit. Each week, we bring you inspiring stories, insightful conversations, and practical tips to help you create a life of balance, peace, and purpose. Whether you're seeking guidance on personal growth, wellness, or simply need a moment to reconnect, this is your safe space. I'm your host, Brianna, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in and take care of the soul. Welcome to another episode of the Haven for Soul Care podcast with your host, Brianna. We are delighted today because we have a special guest. Dr. Tovar is here with us, and we thank you for joining us for this episode. We're excited to talk to you. I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience, and we're going to get into the discussion.
Sounds great. My name is Dr. Supatra Tovar, and I am a clinical psychologist, registered dietitian, and a fitness expert. And I wrote the book, Deprogram Diet Culture, Rethink Your Relationship with Food, Heal Your Mind, and Live a Diet-Free Life. And fun fact, it just won a bronze medal in the Nonfiction Book Awards.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Look, so woke up this morning. I woke up this morning. I've gained a ton of weight. And when you talk about no diet,
Oh,
let's get into that because I feel
yes.
like I just need to go on a fast, probably for a month. Because I'm,
I hear you. And I think that's where a lot of people are when they turn to dieting. And so in my practice, I have a lot of recovered dieters at this point. And the main reason why I tell people to rethink dieting is because it never works. It
Mhm.
really never works. Most diets, if not all diets, fail. And there's a whole host of reasons why. Mainly, your body becomes used to your caloric intake at the start of your diet. Your body has become accustomed to this caloric intake. Most diets reduce that intake by about a half. Most people
Mhm.
have around 2,400 to 3,000 calories a day, and most diets are around 1,200 calories per day. So when you go on a diet, you are shocking the body system, first of all, and creating a massive spike in this hormone called ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone. I like to think of it as like GER in hunger, is ghrelin, right? So you get this massive spike in ghrelin, and you're hungry, obviously, because your body is saying, oh, hey, we're getting half of what we used to get. If you continue on the diet, your body's okay. She's not really listening to ghrelin, so I'm going to tamp that down, but then I am going to go into a massive conservation mode. And that's because our bodies are evolutionarily designed to protect us during starvation. And that's what the body interprets dieting as starvation. And you can see this because most diets will tell you consume only 1,200 calories, intermittent fast, start your meal much later in the day and earlier in the evening. So that your body's like basically interpreting this, oh my gosh, we're really in trouble and we're starving. So then it starts to record what you are losing. You will lose some weight when you cut your calories in half for sure, but the body's recording it. And it's saying, okay, I have this much water, this much fat, and this much muscle at the start of the diet. And so what it will do is will conserve the thing that you want to lose the most, which is fat. It'll
Mhm.
get rid of the water first, which is everybody's like super excited at the start of a diet because they're like, I'm losing weight. So they get motivated to do that, but it's mainly water weight. The next thing to go will be muscle. And the very last thing, and what the body will hold on to with all its might, is the fat. In addition to that, instead of going into a fat burning mode called thermogenesis, you actually have adaptive thermogenesis, and your body then says, okay, we got to just ramp it down. We cannot burn any fat, so it suppresses your thermogenesis. So all of this is working against you during a diet, even if you're losing weight. And especially if your diet is very restrictive, like a cleanse, something that's very low in calorie. Bodies, no, I will not allow her to die. That's what it's saying, right? And so the moment you lose all this weight, and I'm going to put that in air quotes, you can't see
Mhm.
that out there in podcast land, but you lose all this weight, your body then, and then you said, okay, I'm done with my diet. I've reached my goal weight. then the body kicks into this process called compensatory hyperphagia, which just compensatory means to make up for, hyper means lots, and phagia means eat. So you're making up for all the weight you lost by eating a ton.
Mm.
And that's one of the main reasons, along with this compartmentalization of your body, knowing which proportions you were in, why people will go back to their weight set point before the diet, if not higher. So most people that will come into my office have gone on cycles of dieting that have only led to weight gain. So I love to educate people. That's a fruitless endeavor. And that is actually one of the worst ways that you can try to lose weight. There's many other ways that you can, but a lot of people are not willing to do them.
Okay, so go ahead and tell us what is the way that we don't want to do.
Okay, what do you think is the number one type of diet out there? What's being
Um,
like touted in the news? You need this and you got to stop eating this.
oh, if we're talking about eating, everybody, I know I have a couple of friends who have went plant-based, and that's all they're eating. They're not even eating meat, so it's just all vegetables and
So
anything
that's
but.
not actually what you hear in the news, but that is actually the way you can lose weight naturally without ever dieting and never cutting your calories. It doesn't
Mm.
mean that a person will need to completely stop all animal products. But what we see in diet culture right now, which is very disturbing to me, and I think it's very like consumer capitalist driven, is the high protein, low carb diet. That's what's been out there forever.
Oh, the high protein, the like the Atkins.
Atkins, South Beach, paleo, keto, they're all like versions of each other, essentially. And they actually are extremely harmful to your health. If you are consuming any more than around 5 to 10% of your calories as animal protein, numerous, countless studies have been done about how that harms your health, contributes to cardiovascular disease, actually is the main driver of diabetes, fun fact, not so fun
Mhm.
fact, and is the main driver of weight gain. So if you look at the standard American diet without dieting, you can see why that would be obesogenic in and of itself. But even if you pare it down and you put it into a little neat diet without any starches or grains, it's still going to be harmful to your health. And
Mhm.
while you're on it, you may lose weight, like I said, but it's mainly water and it's mainly muscle.
Mhm.
What has been proven over time, and you can actually find research and you can actually find real world examples of how well this diet works when you look at the blue zones. Now, the blue zones are the 5 areas in the world. They're all across the world that have the highest number of centenarians or people who are over the age of 100. Now, if you were to funnel all of the similarities in their diets, because the ingredients in their diets, the foods in their diets are all different because you have from Costa Rica and the Nicoya Peninsula, you have Loma Linda, California, Icaria, Greece, you have Sardinia in Italy, and you have Okinawa in Japan. They're all very widely varied diets. But the one through line with all of them is that the majority of what they're eating is plant-based, the
Mm.
majority. And then very occasionally, for ceremonies, for celebrations, you'll see them have animal protein. And you look at them and they have some of the lowest incidences of all the diseases I've mentioned. Plus, they live so long, and there's really none of them that suffer from being overweight or obese.
Mm.
And the majority that they eat, whole grains, beans and legumes, vegetables, and fruits.
Wow. See, I'm such a carnivore. And what is the, so would you suggest someone to just give it all up, or is it where we need to slowly start transitioning into a plant-based diet?
That really, I think, is an individual question, especially if, for me personally, I was myself a carnivore before I learned a lot of these things. And I still very occasionally will have fish, but I'm even backing away from that because of a lot of mercury and toxins that you find in fish. So it's really a personal journey. And a lot of people can really manage well going straight to plant-based. People who are very much used to having meat may need to gradually reduce their portions. And the thing is, you don't have to go completely plant-based. If you were to look, say, at rural China before Western influence, right? The majority of their food was plant-based, but if they put any kind of animal protein in it, they would put very small amounts. It was just like for added flavor, right? Not in the proportions that you find in like Panda Express today, right? Very different kind of food. It was like just a little tiny bit player, like a little extra. It wasn't like the main star of the meal. And that was one of the main reasons. There's a scientist named T. Colin Campbell,
Hmm.
and he did one of the longest running epidemiological studies in China. And what he determined was the more animal protein that you had in your meal, the more incidences of cancer he was finding
Wow.
in the population. And so he thought he would find the highest levels of cancer in rural populations because he thought that there was a protein deficiency. But what he actually found was the opposite, is it was
Ooh.
all within the urban areas and all with more Western influence where he saw higher incidences of liver cancer. So I think a gradual reduction can be very palatable for people. They can like still enjoy it, and they don't necessarily have to get rid of animal protein. But if you kept your proportions like 5%, you would see weight loss, you would see heart disease go down, you would see better insulin production and
Mhm.
the uptake of glucose to your cells, and you would lose weight. And I saw that happen with myself. I did maybe a more, not as gradual. And I also introduced some of the plant-based meat alternatives to give myself that same kind of taste and flavor. And then I've slowly just started to stop using those as well because they're so processed.
I like when you said that the study showed that there was a decrease in cancer as well, because I had read something where someone, what they said that they had better results when they took the meat away from their diet while they were going through chemo,
Hmm.
because it was their second time with cancer. And so they changed their diet, took the meat away, and they said that they haven't had any reoccurrences and they recovered a lot faster.
And that's been shown time and time again. If you look at the work with Dr. Dean Ornish, he mainly works with heart disease patients, but also Caldwell B. Esselstyn, who runs the Cleveland Clinic. The two of them put their patients on a whole food plant-based diet, and they see their diseases completely reverse. A lot of people don't think that you can reverse diabetes. You
Hmm.
actually can. And a lot of people don't understand the nature of diabetes, why it forms. They think it's because you've had too many carbs or too much sugar. And that's actually false. It's actually completely proven to be false. Studies have shown, like they've given, I can't remember if it was mice or rats. One of them, one set, they gave an entire sugar diet and one gave an entire saturated fat diet. And the ones who consumed saturated fat were the ones who developed diabetes, not sugar. And so,
Wow.
one of the quickest ways that you can resolve your insulin resistance is to completely eliminate saturated fat, which only comes from animal sources. If you were to completely stop that and go more towards the ground, food that comes
Hmm.
close to the ground, you could reverse your diabetes and completely improve your insulin production.
I think that's interesting, because my daughter, she has PCOS and it's so hard for her to lose weight. She's lost some now, but no matter how much I talk to her about she's always saying I'm reducing my calories. She uses terms like calorie deficit, and I'm like, I don't know if that's healthy for you, honey. But she's seeing the results. But like you said, I'm afraid that when she does stop, she's going to find herself eating more and then gaining it back. So,
Yes, absolutely. I think the standard American diet is one of the worst for PCOS in particular. And I think that if you, there's a great book, and really, like the through line is all the same and the results are all the same. But there's a book called How Not to Die. It's like a crazy name, but How Not to Die by Dr. Michael Greger. And I just adore him. He is a doctor that fully admits that doctors don't get any nutritional counseling or education. And he decided, after seeing his grandmother suffer from a disease, that he was going to be a doctor of healthcare and not sick care. And so what
mm,
he did is he went and he disseminated through so many studies. He created this website called nutritionfacts.org. And he is very science minded, thankfully. And he eliminated studies that had influences from the food industry, from the Egg Council, from all of the ones that he saw skewed science with people that had research funded by these industries. And he disseminated the pure science as much as he could. And every single chapter talks about a single disease and talks about specific nutrients that will help, but also the through line through the entire book is that a whole food plant-based diet is the one diet that can help stave off all conditions, including PCOS.
wow. Thank you for sharing that because the one of the fads that I see a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon with too is this new Ozempic and those what is it, GPLs?
P1s.
Yes, and I'm like, I don't know if that's good either because here it is, you're taking a shot and then you're not eating and your food is just sitting there because another part of being able to lose weight and stay healthy is your digestion. And
Yeah.
so if you're not digesting food properly, what is that doing to your body?
Oh yeah, and they're starting to see there's a lot of reports about it being having good efficacy, meaning you lose weight. And but how you lose weight is to me the scariest part when I look at it from the lens of being a dietitian. Yes, your appetite slows, so you consume far fewer calories than you normally did, and it slows your digestion, like you said. And so there's the concerns, especially for people who need surgeries, that they have to fast for much longer than 24 hours, which is completely not healthy before they have surgery because they still have the presence of food in their stomach. I think a lot of people don't fully understand the medication itself. So semaglutide is the medication, and it's a GLP-1 agonist, meaning it mimics GLP-1. The reason why we say mimic is because it's produced naturally in the body. And so it's really interesting to me how it's produced. And it's totally tied into diet culture, like I explore in the book. And basically, when you consume breakfast early in the morning, and specifically when you have starches, like oats are one of the greatest ways to produce GLP-1 naturally in your body. That's how you get your GLP-1, to rise. Also things like spinach and legumes, other natural foods, fermented foods like kimchi, boost your GLP-1 naturally. So if you look at diet culture and dieting, what are they telling you about starches in breakfast?
Mm, I don't know. What are they saying?
There's a lot of diets that are telling you, especially with intermittent fasting or the one meal a day diet, which is, I think, I don't even know how you could possibly be on that, but you're supposed to eat much later in the day. They ask you to hold off on eating, and most diets are very negatively skewed against starchy carbohydrates, the two
Mhm.
things that help you make GLP-1 naturally.
Okay, so I was stumped on your question because I wanted to say they tell you to stay away from starches, but I'm like, well, you just said to eat them.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
was really stumped because I'm like, what are they saying? Are they saying something different? Because it's, oh my gosh. So in the morning, if we had oats, what about yogurt?
Yogurt is also a fermented food. It also is dairy, and dairy contains casein. And casein is has been shown to be one of the biggest drivers of a lot of cancer. So I tend to stay away from dairy and go more just towards whatever I can find in the plant-based realm. So kimchi, although a lot of people are not going to eat that in the morning, I tend to sometimes do that if I have dinner for breakfast kind of thing. But yes, so mostly if you stay within the plant-based realm and get your tons of fiber, that your body absolutely loves, and that will change your gut microbiome. When you look at the difference in microbiome between the standard American diet and people who eat more whole food plant-based diets, the proportions of bacteria are completely different. And your body really loves the bacteria that comes from whole food plant-based foods. And that's how you use this fiber. This particular kind of breakdown of this fiber really helps your brain function better. Fiber does like a million things for you, including what GLP-1 does, which is make you feel full and keep your appetite low for longer. It also helps to clean out your digestive system, especially if you're having things like soluble fiber, like chia seeds, which also are really high in omega-3s and just amazing little seeds in of
I
themselves.
do. I have chia seeds and I use them.
I know I
I
put them
use-
every day in my
Yeah.
smoothie. I like love to make power oatmeal and power
Hmm.
waffles where I like put flax seeds and chia seeds and wheat germ and some dried fruits and nuts and all these other fresh fruits. If
Hmm.
you started your day like that, you're naturally increasing your GLP-1. And what you'll find, and what they also show is if you may have heard the term like breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper. And what that means is if you have the most of food in the morning and you really make it fibrous and you have lots of fruit and starches and things like that, you have much better insulin uptake through the rest of the day. And then if your lunch is just slightly smaller than that, great. And then dinner, very small, you're also going to be increasing your GLP-1. So it's the opposite of what you'd see with a lot of diets, which
Hmm.
tell you skip breakfast, have the lightest lunch, and then just eat a dinner and be done early.
So let me ask you a question. With the, it's so many questions I have. So let's start with this one. With this new thing with everybody wanting to, let's start here. With everybody staying at home. So everybody, a lot of people are stay-at-home workers, like myself,
Me too.
and I do a lot of sitting at my desk. And so, will this diet still work for us if we are confined to our offices or confined to our desk majority of the day?
Sitting for long periods of time, whether you're inside your home or you're in an office, is not the best thing for you. And other studies have also shown that exercise helps to increase GLP-1. So, my suggestion, and I relate because I do telehealth from my home, I like to work in my socks with my jammies and my dogs. And
Mhm.
so I know that sitting the entire day, sometimes I'll have 7 to 8 clients, which is a lot of clients. And that's a lot of just sitting there and concentrating. I have to do something in the middle. Otherwise, I feel like this like crumpled, like
Yeah.
stiff ball at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So my suggestion for people who do work from home is really try to get some exercise, especially in the morning. And the reason why I say the morning is that also really does help with your GLP-1, but it gives you a lot of energy to help fuel you through the rest of the day. So even if it's like 20 to 30 minutes, that's what I suggest for people. I also have this little mini cycler. And
Hmm.
so in between, after I'm done with the client, I have 10 minutes. It's this little race where I go use the restroom, come back, take a sip of water, and then I'll cycle as I'm prepping, cleaning up notes, and then getting ready for the next person. It's nuts, but I will tell you this, ever since I started to do that, the end of the day wasn't this like horrible crash. I actually had energy at the end of the day. I felt good. I felt like I was using my legs. At the very least, I suggest people to get up every hour to set their clock. I make my dad do this. I'm like his little personal trainer, and he gets up and he does a lap around the house and comes and sits back down because sitting all day can be so bad for your health.
Yeah, I think it's bad for your mental health too. Because I know after a while, if I don't get up, I can tell my mood is shifting to something else. On top of, like we're discussing, the my diet plays, and I know this for a fact, diet plays a lot into our mental health as well too.
Yes.
So, if you don't mind, can you touch on that? And then I really want to get into your story about how did you even start this? What made you think, hey, I need to change, or did you have to change, or is it that you just saw a slew of people that came into your office? Okay,
Yes. And sorry, repeat that first question.
you know what? I forgot my first question.
I'm trying to remember too, and then like
Yeah,
lost my train of thought.
no, you're fine. You're fine. I believe I was asking, I wanted to know, let's touch on the mental health portion of our
Yes,
diet.
that's it. Yes, mental health portion of the diet. So there are a lot of foods, and they really do mainly come from plants that help our mental health, help our cognition. Things like walnuts are so good for our brain, so good for our memory. Any of the nuts, any of the fruits and vegetables, because they contain that fiber that I was talking about, that really helps your brain function at its best. So really, it's if you want to just like the shortest answer to how can food boost mental health is that if you are consuming your food as close as possible to the ground with minimal processing additives, preservatives. And let's just go into food processing a little bit because the body isn't really designed, doesn't really assimilate and doesn't really understand, like on a chemical level, these processed foods. Processed foods are designed by food scientists that they call craveability experts, which is very scary to me. It has a very scary title because they're using chemicals to basically hijack the brain. And so when people consume a lot of processed foods, what you actually tend to see is a lot poorer mental health.
Mhm.
And it's basically because the toxins from preservatives and from dyes, artificial ingredients, and things like that, the body has a very hard time with, especially if they can cross the blood-brain barrier. My suggestion for people, and I treat a lot of people for anxiety and depression, and all of them see improvement when they improve their diet. Our physical and mental health are really no different from each other. They're the same thing. Your whole body is connected. You're not just a floating head out there. And that is like exempt from anything that comes into your body. So when you are providing your body with the nutrients that it needs, the vitamins and the minerals it needs, it functions at its best. And that's something I noticed in myself as well. The more that I became whole food plant-based, the more my mood improved. I'm like, wow, I can't even remember the last time I was really sad. My anxiety, which come from a pretty anxious family, and I had a lot of anxiety growing up, has drastically reduced along with my health. All my health markers have improved. And I don't even think about dieting. And I'm at my healthiest natural weight without even like trying. And it's
Mhm.
been amazing. So to answer your second question, how did I get into all of this? I grew up in Colorado and I grew up very active, very outdoorsy. And all of the pictures of me are me outside covered in dirt. Like just literally, I was
Yeah.
like the dirtiest kid. I was like Pigpen. I was just running around. And so I never really thought about weight or shape when I was younger because I was just out and doing everything. But it wasn't until high school when I saw somebody that I cared about very deeply suffering with an eating disorder. And that really stuck with me. That was like really disturbing because I had no idea you could have a problem with food. I never even thought of it at all. Thankfully, I
Mhm.
grew up in a bubble. I wasn't like there was before, I'm going to date myself. It was before social media and all that garbage. So anyway, went to school, studied pre-med biology because I was like, I want to have this option to go back into the sciences, but I also had this other passion of mine, which was the creative arts.
Mhm.
After college, I went and I pursued musical theater and acting and dance and all sorts of stuff. So I was really active in that, and that's what brought me to Los Angeles. And at that point, that's when I was just eating whatever I wanted, which was not the greatest. That's when I started to gain weight. And when you're in Los Angeles, it's, oh my gosh, the pressure is horrible. And that's when I started dieting. And that's when I started to know that it was failing because I would lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight. So I was like, okay, maybe I just need an exercise form that's good for me and that I can just do that will just keep me slim. And so I was like, oh, Pilates, that's amazing. I love this exercise form. That was the moment my life changed, but not because of Pilates, although Pilates is one of the most amazing exercise forms you can do for your body to increase your core, to strengthen your body, to be flexible. It's amazing exercise form. But that's when I started to help people. And the minute I started to help people, this giant firework went off inside of me. I was like, this is what I'm meant to do with my life. The feeling that I got from helping people was profound. Like it was like, oh my gosh, to see somebody healing from an injury or changing their body, I was like, this is incredible. So I started to get a lot of people asking me about nutrition. And at that time, I was doing fine with my body weight, but I didn't know anything. I really didn't. So I was like, you know what? If I'm going to help people, I'm going to go and I'm going to go for it hard. So I went to get my master's in nutritional science. I became a registered dietitian. And then I was like, I still don't have what I need to help people on a holistic level. So then I just kept going and did another 5 years of school and got my clinical doctorate in psychology. And I feel like that was like the trifecta. That was it. Like I was like, okay, now I know. I know how to help people with their thinking, with their mental health. I know how to help people physically with their physical health, with both my dietetics and my fitness background. And it's been an amazing journey.
Oh, wow. So I know that when we pick up the book, we're going to get everything that we actually need because we're getting it not just from somebody who just went through it and but somebody who's on not is also educated as well.
Yeah.
So I love it, and I actually love that when you spoke about Pilates because I started Pilates. I love it because when I was younger, I was really active and very limber. But as I got older and life happened, and I found myself in situations where I just had to sit, I found that I wasn't as flexible as I was. But Pilates has started to help me in that area. So yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. I love it.
Yeah.
So if anybody's listening to us, if you're looking for exercises, go do some Pilates. Go, they have
Mm.
studios and YouTube and things of that nature. And so tell us the name of your book again.
So it's Deprogram Diet Culture, Rethink Your Relationship with Food, Heal Your Mind, and Live a Diet-Free Life. And just to give a little overview about the book, I also have an accompanying course online at anew-insight.com. That's a deeper dive into the book. The book is centered around the work that I do with my clients to get them to stop dieting forever. And it's also been used to help people resolve their eating disorders. So it goes into a lot of the psychoeducation that I gave about diets, about what happens in the body has that. It also helps you to reconnect with your childhood eating style. Because when we're kids, we're naturally mindful eaters. It's not until we've had societal and familial influences that change and shape the way that we eat and take it out of its natural state. So it helps you to explore that along with a lot of the negative thoughts that have developed since your childhood. It helps you to reconnect with your hunger and your fullness, which, in my opinion, if you could just take one thing out of this book, to listen to your hunger and to listen to your fullness are two of the most important things that you can do to help you return to your most healthy weight or resolve disordered eating, because your body then goes into safety mode, goes into its parasympathetic nervous system, and you can actually digest food. Learning about hunger and fullness, learning how to change your thoughts, learning how to eat mindfully and what exactly mindfulness is, and then how to change behaviors to make them habits to last a lifetime.
Oh, wow. That's good because it needs to be a lifetime, the way that we eat. And I think I once heard too, once you start eating correctly, your taste buds begin to change, and that will be all that you desire at that point.
Yes. It's interesting. Once you really start to tune into your body, I love fried food. Don't get me wrong. I love fried food. I love anything fried. Just put it in front of me. When you actually tune into your body and you're not eating mindlessly, you're not eating in a distracted way, your body tells you the moment, and you know the moment. And if you're really tuned in, it will tell you, okay, that's enough. That's a
Mhm.
lot of fat. That's a lot of salt. Stop it. People don't tend to listen to that. And there's a lot of reasons why they don't, because the food is taboo, because it's off limits, because it's bad. And they got to eat it all right now because whatever. Or they just don't care, or they're just not thinking about it. When you actually tune into your body and you truly listen to it, that means that you can actually live in a world where no food is off limits. And that is so amazingly freeing. And in addition to that, when you truly listen to your body, you realize that whole foods, mainly plants, are what make your body the happiest. And so
Mm.
you start to gravitate naturally toward those while you are not restricting any other food. You just naturally go towards them because you're like, oh, that meal I had yesterday was so energizing. It kept me going for 4 straight hours. I didn't even think about food. I was happy. I was anxiety free. And my digestion is so good. I'm having 2 to 3 poops a day, or whatever is your great marker of digestive health. And so
Yeah.
most people, when they really tune into their body and they really pay attention to how food sits in their body, they just naturally go towards whole foods.
Mhm.
But the freeing thing is, say you're out at a party, say you're out at a restaurant, and you want to enjoy something. Why deny yourself that? But listen to the body. If you get this giant steak, say that's like the thing that you're going to splurge on. I am telling you, like after a few bites, you're like, and then meat sweats start to happen, and you're just like, you feel disgusting. You feel the difference. And so you may just have a couple bites, and that's okay. You can
Mhm.
allow that and then listen to your body for when it's time to stop. I think what I'm really hoping for people, anyone who comes into my office, and anyone who reads my book, is I want them to become their own best expert. I don't want them to listen to some person out there or gym dude or whatever telling them about their macros and how many calories they need to eat and having that. You don't have to do that. You can listen to your body and you can trust your body,
Mm.
and then you can be your own best expert.
I love that you said that. As you were talking, I was reminded when I was carrying both my children, it was hard for me to take the prenatal vitamins, and so my doctor, I couldn't take them. They just was awful to me. But my body literally was crave. I would crave vegetables. I craved beans, lots of beans, and I'm not a bean eater, but my body craved things that normally would not eat. And
Wow.
when we talk about the body tells, if you listen to it, it does tell you what it needs and what you're lacking. And
Yes.
that I was so sensitive during those times. My mother would look at me and be like, "What in the I wanted these things that I had normally would not eat. And when I say a bean, it's an enemy of mine.
Learn
But
to
well,
love the bean again.
I'm trying. But yes, and I do believe that I'm a believer that when your body is ill, it begins to tell you what you need to heal it as well.
It does. I think that our bodies are just, and our souls are naturally intuitive. And the more that you quiet yourself and the less you distract yourself, we live in a world of constant distraction. It's really disturbing. But if you get very quiet and very still, and this is another thing that I introduce in the book, it's just quiet, contemplative grounding in the present moment. The present moment is amazing because if you just become aware of it right now and you just look around your room and you listen to the sounds and you smell what is in the room and you touch and feel what's around you and you taste whatever's in your mouth, you realize 99% of the time, unless you're in a car accident or a terrorist explosion or whatever horrible thing, 99% of the time, everything is so calm, quiet, and safe. And when you get really quiet, you can hear your intuition kicking in. I actually use it all the time in therapy. I like quiet myself. I don't distract myself. I fully pay attention and then I'll hear questions I'm supposed to ask. And I feel like they come through me. I don't think that they come from me. I feel like they come through me.
Mm-hmm.
And I firmly believe that's intuition and my spirit coming through
Yes.
and finding the best path for my clients to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that for yourself. I do that for myself and my body. I meditate every single day. I mind my mind. I am very cautious about the thoughts that I allow in my mind. And I've never been healthier in my life.
I love that. I love that. I love, because I'm with you too. I love when I'm in session and I always say, this is God speaking through me because
Mhm.
this, what I'm about to say, is about to rock their world because I'm not in their house. But the meditation is very important. And I think a lot of times people take it for granted sitting in a room and being still.
Oh, yeah.
That is the most, for me, someone asked me, they said, what do you do for your self-care? And I said, I meditate.
Yep.
I said, if I don't get to meditate, if it's a week that is very busy, I said, I am all over the place. I'm
Hmm.
not grounded and I can't think correctly. I said, I have to sit and I have to be quiet. Like even my children, when they were smaller, I had a thing I would put on the door and I would put it on the outside of the door. And my daughter, who loves to be in my presence, she would say, Mommy's praying or Mommy's talking to God, and she'll go on. But that's because I need it. I
Yep.
can't. And as you said, the world is so busy, social media and things of that nature. And when we talk about the diet, this diet thing, social media has so much to do with it because all are these
Yep.
fit women are and they're small waist and they're just perfect bodies. And here it is, you're sitting and you're judging and comparing yourself.
Yes. Yes. That's a huge part of the beginning of my book is deprogramming yourself from diet culture means really reshaping your social media because all of those images are designed to make you feel like you're less than. All of them are designed to take your dollars because advertising preys on our deepest insecurities. And I really think if we can just be more measured, if we can be more aware of what we're consuming, not just in food, but in media, we can greatly improve our health, mental and physical. And I think curating your social media feed is one of the major steps that I take all of my clients through. I'm like, if it's not making you feel good, why are you watching it?
Hmm.
Watch more of what you do like. For me, it's like puppies, kittens, baby sloths, Kevin Bacon singing to his goats on his farm, like those kinds of things. I'm like, that's why social media for me
Hmm.
is a happy place. But I don't spend that much time on. I can't. I just can't. Like when I look at it, I'm like, ugh. And you never ever really feel good. If you're watching puppy videos, yes, you're feeling good. Can't help it. You will feel good no matter what. But if you just start to scroll and you just see friends stuff and God bless them, love my friends. Sometimes I don't want to see what they're posting.
Hmm.
I think it's so much better to rethink your time. And meditation can be one of the best uses of your time because it taps into you and
Mm-hmm.
helps you navigate through the world in a much more regulated way.
I love it.
Amen to meditation.
Yes. One of the things that I had shared with a client of mine, she was she's a scroller, and she was saying that she doesn't like it when she posts pics and she doesn't get the likes, the match
Mm,
on Facebook. And I say we're living in such a time where we are so hungry for validation from someone liking what we post
yes.
that we don't understand that it is making us forget who we really are, because we are
Absolutely.
crafting things for social media for the likes, and the authentic you is nowhere to be found.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if if social media was honest, ooh, can you imagine?
No, because it would catch me on a day where they would say, is that the same lady? No, it's not. No, it's not.
Exactly.
But yeah, but really, if it was honest, because a lot of times what people post, people are going to post the happy things. They're not going to ever post that, yeah, I took a picture. This is me and my husband. But they're literally are at the divorce. They're getting headed to divorce court
Yeah,
because they're not getting along.
I know. Yeah. It's just a curated, not completely honest version of what you are actually going through. So
Hmm.
I think we have to be really mindful of that when we consume it.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So I want to ask you one more question before we go. Where can we get your book?
You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on Barnes and Noble. It's even on some library sites at this point right now. But to get cracking on that, you can go to my website. I actually have two websites where you can find the book and the course and my podcast. I have one as well. And my speaking stuff, you can go to anew-insight.com, anew-insight.com. And then if you are interested in working with me or any of my associates, me and my associates but we're all licensed in California, but I'm also licensed in Colorado, Illinois, and New York. And you can go to drsupatratovar.com. It's DrSupatratOvar.com.
Thank you. The links will be provided in the description, so make sure that you go and you get as much as you can on your new journey, because I believe that we all are in need of reframing our mind and rethinking this diet thing, because
Mm.
if we can start living a healthy lifestyle, we don't have to ever worry about dieting again.
Couldn't that just be the best world ever?
Yes, gives you a peace of mind, a peace of mind.
Yes.
Again, so thank you everybody for joining us for another episode of the Haven for Soul. We thank you for joining us. We
Thank you so
do.
much for having me.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Haven for Soul Care. We hope today's conversation has provided you with the encouragement and tools to take care of yourself and embrace the journey ahead. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, rating, and sharing it with others who may benefit. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. Take a moment today to nurture your soul. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other.